beautiful day.
4 countries had an amazing moment qualifying to the Olympics. Giannis was crying. Rudy Fernandez was crying. Alvarado was flexing.
Alvarado was dancing in the postgame.
I didn't see Brazil's post-game celebration. Too many other games were happening at the moment, so nothing special. No funny stuff from Caboclo.
I did not see that. Fun stuff from Caboclo was the shot from his own half.
Yeah, okay.
To actually hit the 8th three-pointer of the first quarter without a single miss.
Yep.
Yeah, a lot of amazing hoops. A lot of amazing hoops, but...
it's going to be a weird podcast, bro.
Yeah.
Because we're going to try to celebrate those teams, to celebrate these stars qualifying to the Olympics, like for Giannis, for instance. And at the same time, we had a sleepless night after a devastating loss to Puerto Rico for Lithuania.
Deep down, we are hurt. Deep down, we are hurt. We did not make it. Lithuania is out of the Olympics for the 2nd time in a row. And to me, the Olympics without our own nation in it, in the basketball thing, since we're not that, we're not a big country. We don't have a lot of athletes competing.
Man, how old were you when Lithuania qualified to the Olympics the last time? In 2016, what was your life about?
Really different. Really different.
Okay.
Oh my God. Don't even start there, but
yeah,
it was such a long time ago. It seems like, I don't know, 15 years ago, to be honest, not 8.
Yeah.
Anyway,
so devastating loss, but we're here to share the glory with we're gonna be like glory hunters, I would say, because what else we can do now in this shithole, with Lithuanian basketball.
But we gotta be fair. We gotta give our props to the teams that won.
Yeah.
And we're going to do that one by one, I think, going through their road, their final games, what we saw, our impressions, and probably the last thing is we are going to talk about Puerto Rico and Lithuania, because if we start, a lot of you won't be listening.
At some point, we're going to switch to Lithuanian, I guess. Also, cursing will be involved as well, so watch out for some bad Lithuanian words.
Yep.
And we're going to have our very early look at the Olympics that we're going to have in 2-3 weeks. Wow.
Yeah.
It's approaching really fast. But yeah, let's start with Greece. And there was this funny moment.
Which one?
A lot of funny moments, actually. But I had funny personal interactions because a few Greek fans approached me as I was hurt, that Greece qualified to the Olympics because I picked Slovenia. So in their eyes, in their world, which I would say is full of hate, because that's how they were raised, to hate a rival team, right? So they think that if you pick another side, you're a big hater. At the same time, although I picked Slovenia, and for my own reasons that I explained at the podcast, and I was completely wrong, I'm super happy for Greeks to qualify to the Olympics, and especially this way. First of all, I have a lot of, I would call them friends or people that I know in the Greece national team. I know, how big this moment is for them. They qualified for the Olympics for the first time in the 16 years.
Yep.
I watched Giannis crying. We see Vasilis Panoulis' success as the head coach. We see them celebrating in their home country. And at the same time, to me, they were the best team of this qualifying tournament if we include all 4 qualifying tournaments. The best, the most consistent, the most solid display that we've witnessed. And it was just a great basketball given the circumstances that Greeks were in.
Didn't Alex Antetokounmpo tag you somewhere, like laughing at the reel where you're saying that
really? I don't know.
Greece will win over Slovenia?
I didn't watch that.
I saw something, but I haven't checked myself. So
could be the case. I don't care, really. I'm super happy for them. And I'm going to cheer for them in the Olympics. It's going to be one of my favorite teams to watch. So
it's like, we're doing these predictions. One time you're going to be right. One time you're going to be wrong. As long as you have arguments for your takes, it's all good. It's not like we're just saying this. But Greece, I agree with your take that it was the most solid team in the qualifiers. What they did against Slovenia, basically closing the game in the first 10 minutes, showing from the start that, okay, we are here to be the bosses, and we don't care what you have in your roster. We don't care if you have troubles, injuries, or whatever. We are here to take care of business. And they did that, plus 20 in the first quarter, basically destroying Slovenia one-on-one. I mean, all the problems, Slovenia's problems that we talked in this podcast before were in complete effect, like Greece made them completely naked. And then in the final game, I thought they were just a better team. Even with the pressure, you're playing at home. They did well. Their defense was absolutely amazing. But, as Rita said in our chat, and I wrote on Twitter, you don't expect a team with Walkup, Kalatis, and Giannis Antetokounmpo, along with other guys like Papa Nikolaou, to be a bad defensive team. Like what they would do if they're not great offensively. I think they need to do some work before the Olympics to be really solid, because we saw some struggles, like Giannis in the first half, just trying to barricade him into the paint and score the layups. But defensively, I thought they were amazing. I thought Thomas Walkup had a solid game as always, playing the passing lanes. And offensively, they were just solid enough to beat Croatia. And I came to see Giannis, but I stayed to see Papa Giannis. And I mean, wow, what a performance.
Shout out to Dainius Rumša. He wrote, "Who needs Giannis when you have Papa Giannis?" Yeah. It sums it up pretty well. 4 threes in the first half. He crushed all the barriers that Croatia was building. By the way, shout out to Croatia. I think that I wouldn't say they were most prepared, but they were the most radical in a way they tried to stop Giannis. And I think it was working. Finally, we saw something radical. Because Slovenia, at first they tried Josh Nebo. Probably that was one of the main reasons why he was naturalized for Slovenia, because they saw Greece as their biggest opponent. And we saw him guarding Giannis from the jump. It didn't work, well. Then it was
But they left him alone. Sorry for interrupting you. They left him alone. Like, you can't, even if you put a bigger body, athletic center against Giannis, you can't leave him alone. You gotta be in the gaps. And like Luka Doncic is guarding Thomas Walkup on the second possession, and he's like not even looking when Giannis has the ball. He's guarding Thomas Walkup. Like, you want to risk from him, maybe. I'd rather have Walkup taking an outside shot than Giannis going to the rim. He's not even looking. So that's why I had concerns about Slovenia, like not focused enough.
Now this Slovenia, unfortunately, didn't have a chance. Luka missed first 4 free throws. Slovenians were missing open shots from the beginning, and this defensive plan against Giannis didn't work at all. Cancar, they tried to stop Giannis with Vlatko Cancar.
Come on now.
There was no chance. They started 15-0, so it was a disastrous. I would say it was a disastrous display by Slovenia in this qualifying tournament, and I'm done with Slovenia. I'm not going to be their driver of their bandwagon no longer. That's it.
You should have done that before this tournament, man. Like,
hey,
you should have done it.
I'm loyal.
Although
I'm loyal.
Although I appreciate you're loyal to what? Slovenia?
To Slovenia.
Why?
Since Kaunas. I don't know. I just love them.
Okay.
But as I told you, it was a weird love and hate relationship with the Slovenia in the last, now it's 3 years.
For the content, it was good because, I picked Greece, you picked Slovenia. So we had this little argument. Yeah. But
now Alex has,
I think it was Alex.
Alex, now at least he has something to be proud of, so I'm good. And he brought us a lot of followers, so I'm cool. Business. It was a good business decision as well. And I don't care that I was wrong, really. And just to add about Greeks' defense, they contained Croatia to 69 points and Slovenia 68. And I've checked stats. Since Luka became the alpha dog of Slovenia since 2021 qualifying tournament in Kaunas, I checked all the major FIBA competitions. Olympics, World Cup, Eurobasket, and qualifiers, both in Kaunas and now in Piraeus. So I've checked 27 games, and Slovenia was averaging 95.1 point per game in 27 games with Luka as the main guy of the team. It's a crazy number. So, and it was the first time since 2021 that they didn't score 70. There was one 71-point game against Germany, and all the other games, Lithuania contained them to an 84 in the Eurobasket. So it was the second best record. So we're talking about some solid defense, coming from Greece, and that's just huge. And I know that maybe Greece's offense wasn't very sexy because of, I think that their roster is just limited in terms of being very sexy or displaying very sexy basketball. But I love watching them so much. The way they used or utilized their roster, their offensive potential. And it starts from, you mentioned Papagiannis. I mean, to me, it starts from Nicolaitis. It feels like the guy is playing his best basketball in his career if we combine both the season with Fenerbahce and now this national team. To me, he was a perfect floor general for this team. It's also connected to the fact that Vasilis Panoulis, who did a tremendous coaching job in this 2-week preparation and the qualifying tournament gap, it felt like that he didn't force the game through Giannis too much. And to me, I really liked it a lot. And it also is connected to the fact that Nick was running the show really well. And he just made the game easier for everyone. And he was the real floor general for everybody on the court. So, it was just a pleasure to watch Kalaitis, Papagiannis stretching the floor at this level, and also Giannis making Greece as a team. It was not one-man show. And I loved this last dagger by Papagiannis at the end of the fourth quarter when Giannis got the ball at the mid-range. And of course, Croatia was forcing his pull-up jumper. And just a jumper, and it was like the clock was running down, and Kalaitis was kind of ready to shoot the ball, but Giannis made the right play, right read. He sent the ball to the corner because he remembered that Papagiannis had a good shooting night, and Papagiannis just shot this corner free, and it was just a beautiful moment of this Greece national team that I called after they won this qualifying tournament. It was a beautiful team display all around the floor, and the way they played, the way they fought, the way they were coached by Vasilis Panoulis, all his after timeout plays, it was just such a pleasure to watch this team. And now is going to be one of my favorites, if not the most favorite team to watch in the Olympics, because in my eyes they're, I would say, underdogs in the full picture of having Team USA, Canada, world champion Germany, who else? Maybe France, a lot of crazy teams. But I'm gonna support them.
I'm glad you actually mentioned that thing about Giannis's passing, because I thought it was not really, nothing has been said about Giannis's passing in this tournament. And I thought he did a much better job, than just trying to bulldoze his way all the time. He still did that because that's the way he plays. But his passing, I thought, was a little bit underrated. So I'm really glad you mentioned it. Talking about their offense, I still think there is a lot of work to do. Even with this roster, even with missing a guy who can handle the ball and score off the dribble. Like, it's obvious they're missing a guy like that. But so it is going to be hard for them in most of the games because of that. But I think they can do even better, with the 2.5 weeks more of the preparation. I think they can be more ready, especially, because they are going to face really tough competition. And Croatia is a good team, but they basically yesterday, what they did, in the final, they just said we're going to play the lottery, and they did the best Jose Mourinho park the bus impersonation. Mm-hmm. Like, they were basically 4 or 5 guys every time in the paint, because you can do that in FIBA. Ivica Zubac was not moving from there all the time, and other guys from Kalaitis, from Walkup, even from Papanikolaou, from Giannis, they were just backing down, inviting him and others to shoot from long range. And when he's driving, just everybody collapsed inside. So And they were struggling at some points. They got really a huge boost in the second quarter, in the first quarter from Giannis. I thought that gap that he created with his threes was super important, because you don't want to go into a close game playing at home for the qualifiers to the Olympics. Like, the pressure can become just too big. And, for a team that relies on making open shots from not great shooters. So a lot of things to like about this Greece, but also I think they can be even better in the Olympics.
Yeah. You mentioned pressure. Watching this team, it felt that they didn't feel any pressure, to be honest with you. The game was coming to them so natural in my eyes. And of course, it starts from defense. I mean, you have this confidence with your defensive effort, and when the offense, the shot falls in, it's easier to play when you have Giannis stretching the floor at this level. I mean, it's a huge thing for Greece, because we remember the years before when I think Giannis was also on the team with Giannis. It was a big issue for Greece, to execute, how to use him. And I mean, that was also great that Giannis was trusting his teammates. I wouldn't say much more. He always trusted his teammates. But again, it was a good natural flow of the offense, sharing their workload offensively. So, yeah.
Usually with Giannis and Greece, it was like, okay, he's great, but he's forcing just too much. Okay, he misses one shot, second shot, and then he's not stopping. He's just going to the rim, forcing those mid-ranges. Yesterday, there was a good, I think, healthy, what would you call it? Good ratio between his mid-range shots, which were completely allowed by the Croatians, between going to the rim and between passing the ball out. Like, there was no one episode when I was like, man, come on, Giannis, like pass it out now. You don't need to go to the rim anymore, and try those tough shots against a really huge body like Ivica Zubac. So I think it was a good, healthy ratio. And as I said, I think they can be even better.
Man,
they will need to be better.
That's true.
The group they are in, wow.
Canada, Spain, and who else? We're definitely missing one big team.
And Australia.
Oh, so who is the worst team of this group? Spain?
I was trying to do the calculations, but it's so tough to say. I mean, we'll have to see how Australia, their main guys are older each year. So, but I don't know. Like, Canada are my favorites, but after that, anybody can be 2, anybody can be 4.
Yeah, my early shot would be that Canada and Greece will qualify to the next stage.
All right,
but who knows? The best third team will also advance. So.
Yeah, it's so hard to tell.
Yeah, I don't like this.
It's the weird format. Super weird format. I don't like to.
Yeah. And I have this one last note about Kalatis. I don't know if you noticed it, but when he made his third three-pointer, he was 3 of 4, it felt like Nick turned to the Croatians bench. And again, that's my version of what I read from Nick's lips, but it felt like he was shouting something like "Pichku." Is that possible? But for sure, it was addressed to the Croatians and their defensive tactic, because they were forcing him to shoot. I mean, Šarić was like on the free throw line or something, and he was helping. Probably he was helping to contain Giannis and whatever, and they just gave up the shot. So Nick made that third three-pointer. Again, he was amazing, and I really think that maybe not Pichku, but something pretty mean.
Something along those lines.
Yeah, probably.
You can hear that everywhere, pretty much in the basketball world. It's used in every country, I think, in Europe. The Balkans made it famous.
Yeah.
And I even use that.
Sure.
Like,
that's a funny,
instead of using Lithuanian bad words.
Not to look bad in
Lithuanian bad words, but yeah.
Nick Kalatis, 10 points.
I wouldn't be surprised.
10.5 assists in 4 qualifying tournament games. Huge performance. Best plus and minus record on his team. Wow.
Last thing about their defense, I just remember this now. They have the size, they have the gritty players, but they also do have smart players. Like, they go for risks that are just a little bit better than those crazy risks some other people do. So, like, when Nick Kalatis goes for a steal, it's usually a higher percentage to get it or to, for his teammates to make it up, because they're just creating such a havoc defensively, I think, with their size, with their smarts, and other teams just lose points in that department. And with the way they rotate, with the way they communicate with each other, with the way they, let's say, you help me, and then somebody else helps you, it's just a beauty to watch, really, how they play defense. And I think that will be their main drive for sure in the Olympics.
This podcast is sponsored by our friends Hostinger. And, I thought about one website that would be really helpful for us to navigate the maths and all this labyrinth of the Olympic basketball tournament, because we're going to have to do this math game, to figure out the top third seeded teams, right? And sometimes when you watch the last rounds of the EuroLeague season, and when you try to calculate the chances of some teams making it to the playoffs or not, I would love to see the scenarios, by what margin this team needs to beat that team in order to make it to the next stage of the Olympics. And if you have this idea, you can easily use Hostinger website builder, right?
Exactly. And that's just one of the ideas, actually, that Donatas has made up today. So if you have one, and I believe that our fans and listeners definitely have some interesting ideas that they haven't maybe fulfilled in the last couple of years, they should do that by using the Hostinger AI website builder. No coding skills.
So easy to use, man. You can basically make this website in like 15 minutes or whatever.
If we wouldn't need to talk about the other 2 or 3 whatever qualifiers in this podcast, like we could do it in like 15 minutes. So until the end of this podcast, if Donatas were talking alone, and I know he has a lot of opinions and takes remaining to say, I could do my own website. I could actually fulfill your idea like in 15 minutes. But yeah, I need to talk. So
that's because AI generates a unique website in minutes. They make a SEO friendly copy. The AI helps to make all these logos. There are a lot of good functions of drag and drop stuff. They help to improve the marketing experience, e-commerce experience, and it's so easy to use. Even for me, I have nothing to do with coding or whatever, creating websites, but hosting a website builder offers such an easy layout that, again, you can build this great, actually, website that potentially can pop out during the Olympic basketball tournament, because a lot of different countries, a lot of big countries will be involved, and for sure they're gonna be confused about the systems. And especially I can see a lot of NBA fans, Team USA fans, being confused about how this FIBA game works.
Right. And I don't know, if you want to have an online shop, you can do that too with the services of Hostinger. If you don't want to create or use the AI website builder, you can just choose from 150 templates that Hostinger has to make it easy for you, and just start from there. So use our code BNews10 for 10% off and start your online journey now.
What about Spain, Bahamas, and their drive that you've seen in the final game?
I don't know. It's basically, I think the Bahamas will be so much fun going forward. I mean, they look good. They have the talent. VJ Edgecombe is going to be one of the
guys to watch for sure
in the next years. And they did so much in such a small period of time. Like, if more people can join, if more NBA players can join that team, we are looking at a super fun future team in the FIBA tournaments. I mean, as I expected, they missed the Olympics by that much because of basically their inexperience, because of their style. I thought they had a chance to even come back closer to Spain. I think the most was down 6, but they were just trying to rush those shots. They were trying to do everything one by one, and it worked for the most part of the game. It worked until the part where they were like always close to Spain. Like, they stayed in the game. They did not lose like Latvia in the first quarter, basically. But it was just not enough against, a well-oiled machine like Spain is. They had so many options. And I thought Spain caught Bahamas on similar things actually to what other world teams caught Team USA last year. Like things like off-ball movement, rebounds, backdoor cuts, those type of things. Because at the end of the day, you had 3 NBA guys on the lineup in Bahamas, 1 guy which played in high school. So it's
a lot of NCAA guys.
So it's not weird that, they have the same habits, and it showed in the end. But it was a fun game to watch.
Big win for Spain. I mean, I had a lot of doubts about them because they were not impressive at all. They didn't seem to be clicking up until the final game. Bahamas was on fire, so I thought that there might be one of the upsets of the qualifying tournament. But, Spain is just Spain. They might suck, they might struggle, but when it matters, they're gonna show up. And the second quarter to me was the most important one, and that was the typical a lot of pieces involved. Typical Spanish basketball, Spanish greatness or masterclass display, starting from Usman Garuba. I mean, just killing at the rim, edge comb, DeAndre Ayton. He was just blocking all the shots. And again, Garuba is one of my favorite role players to watch. His numbers are not impressive at all, but he's always playing a huge role on his team. The same happened 2 years ago when they won the Eurobasket. So it started from Garuba. And the whole run by Spanish national team, of course, started from Rudy Fernandez hitting a quick fast break 3-pointer to start this run. Then you have Garuba. Then you have Lorenzo Brown hitting 3 threes in a row in 90 seconds, changing the momentum of the game offensively. And of course, who else if not Sergio Llull is closing the second quarter with his mandarina. So I'm just watching this sequence by Spain. I'm like, come on now. I mean,
we've seen that before.
A lot of teams are playing basketball. 2 teams are competing for the victory, and Spain always comes out with the victory. That's just Spanish basketball where you don't have any chance, So it was beautiful to watch them, getting this victory at the home crowd, great atmosphere in Valencia, and to watch all these emotions by Rudy, making his sixth Olympic Games, starting his journey from 2004. Wow,
that's crazy.
That's crazy. So
he was an Olympic player when Charas made those shots against the USA when we lost to Italy in the semifinal. When Argentina, with their golden team,
when LeBron James made his national team debut. So he's a crazy
Carlos
guy.
Arroyo and Larry Ayuso beat Team USA
in the opener. Yeah, wow. A lot of history.
It seems like in some previous life. I don't know.
Yeah.
And Rudy was already playing. Wow. I mean, his emotions said it all after the final whistle. You can hate him, you can love him, but
to me, okay. This Kobe comparison wouldn't be fair, but I have the same feelings on Rudy. I was Kobe's hater, or I would say I was not a fan of Kobe in his first, let's say, half of his career. But at some point, you start respecting the guy for all the things he did, for all the greatness, for all these championships, and especially for his mentality. So, this kind of a hate relationship with Kobe turned into a lot of respect, a lot of things you can pick up anywhere, not just on a basketball floor if you're a basketball player. So I have a kind of the same vibe with Rudy Fernandez, because he was not the most popular guy in the Lithuanians, He was actually even beaten for that in Kaunas.
That's a
crazy story. Yeah, in 2011 or something like that.
I don't remember exactly the year, but it definitely happened.
Yeah, yes, later in 2011. Anyways, so yeah, but now just respect for the guy who's making so many important role player plays to help his team win.
We can mention guys like Santi Aldama, who I thought played a pivotal role in this Spain's victory. Just doing everything. Basically a little bit of everything. The guy is just capable to shooting, driving to the rim, running, making passes, just a little bit of everything. wherever you put him, he will be efficient. Guys like Willy Hernan Gomez, 15 points, 7 rebounds in the final.
There's this guy, Alberto Diaz, once again, 0 points in 18 minutes, but 4 assists and a lot of crucial defensive stops, and especially playing against Eric Gordon.
There is a reason he's playing 18 minutes.
So,
but Bahamas, they made this game interesting. They were playing zone defenses with DeAndre Ayton actually up top in the middle in the fourth quarter. It was like 3-2, 1-2-2 zone, whatever you call it. But DeAndre Ayton was up top in the middle. So that's an interesting look. Like Bahamas really tried a lot of things to make it work. But in the end, Spain, as you said, 10 men play basketball for 40 minutes and somehow Spain always wins in the end.
Yeah, and if you're interested in Bahamas' future, my colleague Edvinas Jablonskis, who was in Valencia covering the qualifying tournament, made a great article with the GM of the Bahamas national team, spoke about their future, about Klay Thompson's availability, and a lot of other interesting things. You can find an article on BN Plus. Join BN Plus community on BasketNews.com/plus. A lot of great content that we had. We had guys in all the qualifying tournament cities. A lot of interesting stuff was happening because there was free agency movement. Guys like Davis Bertans being cut basically in the middle of the game. Of course, it was just a matter of the paperwork, probably, but still, it was a fun fact. So we got his reactions. A lot of other stories covered by our guys in Greece and San Juan. So it was a great job by BasketNews.com crew. And also, we're going to be present in Paris Olympics. Me and Giannis Miklovas are coming over there to deliver even more great content on BasketNews.com. So be sure to subscribe to BN Plus on BasketNews.com/plus.
Have you actually seen the video that USA team basketball were asked? Every player was asked to do this.
I mean, now it looks so simple, but even Steph Curry cannot do that.
I was so shocked actually by that. Can you imagine the greatest, not maybe the greatest, but greatest shooter for sure, and one of the best dribblers?
I mean,
do something.
That's some bullshit basketball circus, The guy is showing up when it matters in big games, making big shots. So,
what about Raja Bell to Kobe Bryant? No, but this white basketball is brought to us by our sponsors, SKSTORE.EU. And we have some gifts today from them.
A lot of good stuff coming from SKSTORE.EU.
Let's go.
And I mean, when we're talking about national team basketball, usually it's like, okay, that's cool, but where I could get some jersey, some national team stuff, and that's where SK Store gives their hand, and they're sending us some cool national team stuff. I have France jersey over there.
Do you have Wemby?
Hopefully. Okay.
I have USA.
It's just a simple France.
Oh, okay. You can
basically customize it, I believe.
I have Team USA jersey.
That's official stuff, right? They have some nice colors. Okay, so that's France.
Why you're not zooming in on this, Mantas? I don't understand. Yeah, thank you.
What else do you have?
Oh, we have another jersey?
I have, our Greek friends, Hellas. Some nice stuff.
Only the winners. Did SKStore.EU know that Greece will qualify?
European basketball is full of people
you have
who
something
predict
else,
things.
man?
And I have some personalized stuff.
Wow.
Some personal
This is
touch.
the last podcast for me. Like personal gifts for you only, and not every member of this podcast.
This Adidas hoodie is something else. I saw it for the first time in Treviso Adidas Eurocamp.
Right.
That's some great
Nice.
stuff. All the Adidas Eurocamp players were wearing this stuff. And I didn't know that. You can find it on skstore.eu. That's nice. That's some cool stuff.
A lot of other stuff can be found on the skstore.eu. Wide variety of basketball products, not only basketball shirts,
That's my
hoodies,
stuff.
but you can find a lot of brands, clothing, where I have it. You have basketball, you can find basketball equipment, Basically,
outdoor, indoor, everything, man. SKSTORE.EU.
Anything you need. National teams,
retro stuff that we have in the studio.
We have a lot of actually stuff already from SKSTORE.EU in the studio. So thanks to them. Go check them out.
And make sure to buy something, man.
Yeah.
That's some good stuff. And since we mentioned Latvia, would you call it a disappointment? Them losing the final against Brazil in this way, in this fashion, with so many fans, a lot of hype, Cinderella story from last year, and playing Brazil in the final?
I don't know, because as an outsider, not a Latvian, I wasn't expecting them to win it. I know they were great last year, but it was a Cinderella story. Cinderella stories are called like that for a reason, because you don't expect that. They played better than they actually were. They started well. They got the confidence. They kept surprising people. Their confidence were off the charts, and they made it happen. But, you know, the arguments for them to repeat the success this year again were not there. Injuries to key players. No Andrejs Gražulis, super important piece last year. They're playing at home with all the pressure, some good teams in their qualifying tournament. I wasn't surprised. You know, I picked Brazil before, and for all those reasons that I just mentioned. And so if I was Latvian, I was probably disappointed, because as Lithuanians were disappointed 3 years ago when we lost against Slovenia. Okay, it was Luka, but you know, we also had a pretty solid team 3 years ago. We played at home in Žalgirio Arena, so we thought, 15,000 people will help us. So I can understand Latvia's hopes before this tournament. And probably if I was a Latvian, I would also be disappointed. I would call it disappointment. Probably their best chance to making the Olympics. And, you know, for quite a while, and probably in the future as well. But Brazil just started the game and showed why they're better. And to me, it wasn't those 8 3-pointers they made in the first quarter, although, you know,
it helps to win games, right?
It helps to, you know, you have to make more points. So in some way, it helps actually a lot. But I just saw one team that's way more physical, way more athletic, way better on defense. And Latvians were not that team. Like Brazil just making it so hard for Latvians to execute offensively. Every time, okay, not every time, most of the time Latvians drove to the rim and actually tried like layups, contested layups. They just missed, and their guy is falling down, and the Brazilian is grabbing rebound and running to the transition. They couldn't make a bit, you know, a much harder shot in the paint if there was a guy. And I didn't understand Latvians' defense, to be honest. They were trying some stuff, but executing that on a poor level. And, you know, in Brazil, in that team, you have shooters that are known shooters. And Latvians were closing out to them like they're not shooters. Like these are Kalaris or Walkup, like, or if this is, you know, Arnas Butkevičius is shooting that. But those were, you know, Meindl shooting those 3-pointers, other guys. So I was surprised that the way they play defense, really, to be honest. So those 8 3-pointers, there were some luck, some tough shots, you know, some step backs there. But at the same time, you know, when you lose by 25, you can't have really any excuses.
Yeah, when I watched this game against the Philippines, I was already concerned about Latvia. It felt like they didn't have it like they had last year. There are a lot of reasons. I mean, Bertans was not having a great qualifiers. I mean, he just averaged like less than 9 points. Didn't make a single 2-point shot. Žagars was coming after an injury-plagued season. Also not the best performance, 9.3 points, 5 assists to 1.7 turnovers. And for sure, he was affected by the injuries, by the lack of the rhythm. And he was probably the biggest reason last year, you know, the guy who sparked this team to a historic 5th place performance in the FIBA World Cup. So you mentioned all these missing players like Gražulis. I'm not even counting Porzingis.
He wasn't there last year.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean, I don't know. It was just a different Latvian team. To me, they looked like bad losers. They were too nervous, fighting with the guys all the time, getting into some physical altercations, and a lot of stuff that usually comes from the frustration. All these things you mentioned, also the lack of the physicality. Neither against the Philippines nor the Brazil, they matched those opponents physically. So it was just also a bad display of Latvia, but at the same time, Brazil was a really sexy team in this competition. I really like the way they were built. It's crazy that they managed to go all the way with two main point guards basically getting injured. First of all, Raul Neto, he's coming off an injury-plagued season again. So you didn't consider him as a main point guard, but before he was the main star basically of the team. Then Iago dos Santos gets injured. And your team is basically based on Marcelino Huertas, who is again 41 years old, Bruno Caboclo, Jorginho, guys which I really loved, like Leo Mendel, very nicely built team, especially offensively.
Clear roles.
Exactly, clear roles, great fit on the court, and even missing some depth in the guard position with Iago and Raul Neto getting injured. I mean, they were just great. And these 8 3-pointers, they were, okay, you make this Bruno Caboclo type of free because of a lot of luck. There were a few off-board threes, but to me it was not surprising. They're capable of making a lot of threes. They were fun to watch. Latvians couldn't pick up with them defensively, and they were just playing their game. I mean, I loved a lot of things about them. Starting from Jorginho, for instance, very interesting guard. It's interesting that he's just about to start his second season in Europe, I think. He played the last one in Ulm.
Yeah.
I'm really intrigued to see how he's going to adjust to European basketball for his second year, because he's a really interesting backcourt player
He was doing
for
already
Europe.
great.
The guy like Leo Mendel, in my eyes, he would be a great fit for Eurocup or potentially EuroLeague level at some point, but he's good in Japan. Apparently, he plays for Dainius Adomaitis team in Tokyo, and they're really happy about him. So he's going to stay over there. So a lot of interesting guys on that team that made this team really good in this qualifying tournament. I don't have a lot of hopes in the Olympics for Brazil, but for sure they're fun to watch.
Absolutely. And as I mentioned, defense was the main key for them. And for Latvians, I just checked, I knew that their percentages weren't good from 3-point this year. They made only 30% in this qualifying tournament. And guess their 3-point percentage last year in the World Cup.
Something like 55.
No, you can't. No. For a tournament, 55.
They looked like 55% 3-point shooting team. Okay,
I agree.
47.
They looked. No,
No?
47 is still too high. 42.
Okay.
But that's still a huge drop-off.
But it was
42,
a huge, they were
30.
shooting like a lot of threes, making a lot of threes.
They were shooting almost 33 per game and making almost 14. And they made only a little bit less than 10 this year. So that's 4 3-pointers less per game on average, and that's 12 points only on threes. So, yep.
And the last part, the most exciting one. I was so proud of you because, you see Greece winning their qualifying tournament, and Piraeus wasn't a big sensation. You could see that. Then there was Spain. Okay, it was a well-deserved, tough victory in terms of the whole picture of the qualifiers, the way they started the competition. Bahamas was on fire. That was a tough one. Then was Brazil. Really good pick. I mean, super proud of you going 3 from 3. And I'm like, okay, August is going to be perfect with this one. And then Puerto Rico happens.
Man, this was I wanted to be 4 for 4, but if I had to choose one pick where to be wrong, this was definitely not the one. So I don't even know where to start. We could talk for hours here.
We were talking for hours on Lithuanian podcast this morning after 3 hours of sleep. So I'm just now eager to hear your thoughts, your main conclusions.
My main conclusion is that we have great guys who are role players, but we just don't have big-time players, leaders anymore. And you could see that basically in the competition, on club competition level. We don't have EuroLeague superstars. With all the respect to Marius Grigonis, the EuroLeague champion, but he was not the second option in Panathinaikos, and his minutes got reduced heavily in the most important time of the season, the quarterfinals and the Final Four. He barely played. And so, it's just Puerto Rico were enjoying the game. They were playing one-on-one. They were playing, it's a cliche, but they were playing modern basketball where you're not afraid to express yourself. And Lithuanians, after a bad start, they felt the pressure. I don't know. They felt the pressure. They were afraid of mistakes. We can talk about coaching decisions that also influenced that. We can talk about team selection around Domantas Sabonis. We saw that on the biggest scale. All those missed 3-pointers that we saw last night. But I just think that Lithuania don't have superstars anymore, and it's time for us, the fans and the basketball society, to accept that. And because I think we have hopes that are actually not realistic with what we have and what we see actually in basketball. So, and from Puerto Rico's side, I loved how they played since the start of the tournament. One-on-one guards, quick guards that are able to create at any point in the match, able to shoot with 17 seconds remaining from 3-point range after the dribble. They don't care about a set play. They don't care about making mistakes. They played this way for 40 minutes long, and they were the better team. And I enjoyed watching them play with that crowd behind them, because when they make some shot, they're just going crazy. The fans are, I would even say, overexcited. You don't often see that in Europe. So it was a great basketball celebration for Puerto Ricans, and they deserve to win 100%. Like, we didn't have a chance in this game. Right from the get-go, we were out-dominated with the pressure, on-ball pressure, with double teaming and all that stuff.
You say that Puerto Rico played modern basketball, but I would say that they have tools to play modern basketball.
Exactly.
Their game starts from their guards and a lot of good helpers, role players in the forward and center position. And I think that's the problem of Lithuanian national team. Our star power is at the center position. Jonas Valančiūnas, we had a lot of hopes with Domantas Sabonis, but even with Domantas Sabonis, who's the NBA All-Star, you need good tools, good fit around him to be dominant. And I mean, we can start the conversation that it's a different game for Domantas Sabonis in FIBA basketball court.
Yeah.
Smaller court, more helps, no the 3-second defensive rule, really limits his offensive greatness that he can show in the NBA. At the same time, Domantas Sabonis, he's not that type of player who will make a difference only through his game. I mean, he's a center, and even he was successful in Sacramento when they did some moves. First of all, you have to have a really good ball handler like Fox, for instance.
Malik Monk,
and a lot of shooters, 3-and-D players around. So Sacramento had to move pieces, sign players to build a team around Fox and Domantas Sabonis, right? But by making these moves, they made it all the way to the third seed at the Western Conference Finals, Western Conference 2 seasons ago. And this national team of Lithuania, we don't have the necessarily tools for Domantas Sabonis to be successful. Or potentially we picked wrong guys, or we trusted the wrong guys, expecting Sabonis and this national team to thrive. So that's the first thing. The other thing you mentioned, we have just not a bunch, but really good role players. We're lacking of star power at the backcourt position. Even with Brazdeikis missing, he's a pick and roll player. He can hardly create something one-on-one. He's probably the best one-on-one player, but still not at that level as the EuroLeague stars. And he was at the end of the Olympiacos rotation. That tells a lot as well.
But I would think like Brazdeikis would have helped immensely in this game, particularly. Sure. Because
at least we would have a second ball handler next to Grigonis.
He would be like the first option in my eyes.
Yeah.
Because I don't necessarily agree with your point that he's not an isolation player, because of in this game, like you have Jose Alvarado
At this level, yeah.
and Tremont Waters and Brazdeikis with his size, with his strength, with his, power and the skill that he has, he would have used this opportunity. Like he would just drive and bully ball to the rim, or he would post up one of the small guys, and that's it. Create advantages.
At this level,
kick out passes.
At this matchup, for sure, he would have been great. But just in general, it's hard. It's hard to be a Lithuanian fan because there's not much going on beyond the roster that we had. We could naturalize the player, but that's against the approach of the federation, which you can respect. But at the same time, even if you want to naturalize some guards, you probably cannot do it because of the restrictions in Lithuania, the government. It's really hard to have a double citizenship in Lithuania. It's even tough for Lithuanians to keep two passports if they acquire, let's say, US passport, for instance. So, a lot of obstacles. So you have to look for the future, and probably now we have to wait for Kasparas Jakučionis, who's like 19. And the guy is different, actually. You can have hopes on this guy. There is Matas Buzelis. He's also 19, number 11 draft pick of this year's NBA draft. You can, hope to build around these guys. I mean, Jokubaitis is still only 23 in my eyes. He has to do, I would say, some self-development things if he wants to not to meet the standard, but to meet up the expectations that just everyone had. Šarūnas Jasikevičius, when he took over Barca in his first year, he said that my goal is to make Rokas Jokubaitis as a star player in 3 years. The time is running down, basically. I think that's 3 years already with Rokas Jokubaitis in Barca. Where is he now? He's a borderline Barcelona player. Actually, he has quite an uncertain future, I would say, in Barcelona. Even if he stays, his role is unclear. So, I think that he has to step up. I think he needs to take a summer off, I would say, because he was playing all the time from the Olympic qualifiers before Tokyo, actually. He was always busy with the national team stuff in the summer. There was the New York Knicks stuff in the summer league. There were all these, major FIBA competitions, Eurobasket, World Cup, lengthy season in EuroLeague, Spain. Usually in Spain they play a long season. The guy didn't have time to work on himself, to just to recover after all these draining years. So I think that he needs to take a pause like Marius Grigonis did last year for good. And he might be fine, and he's still only 23 years old, so there's plenty of time to change the trajectory of his career that is currently right now. Sabonis is 28, he's not old, he's coming at his peak. There are guys like Servidis, who's still quite raw for national team basketball, but, there is potential. So there's Ąžuolas Tubelis, potential backup for Sabonis, for instance. So there are guys, but it's to have hopes on the future generations is such a tricky thing, because we already had hopes on Jokubaitis 4 years ago when he was showing up already for Žalgiris and Šarūnas Jasikevičius, and he was playing really great basketball. We had hopes on some other guys, and that's part of life. They might not develop as fast as we expect. There might be some obstacles in their careers, or some guys might be just limited, and that's it. That's part of the sports. And we're a country of 3 million people, so it's not like we have a lot of a big talent pool in general. So I don't know. It's tough. We're already quite expanded on this topic. So
hey, shout out to Puerto Rico.
Yeah,
shout out to Puerto Rico. They played amazing basketball, while one team played with fear in their eyes. Puerto Rico were just, willing to do whatever.
Embracing the chaos that was on the court at some point.
Embracing the chaos, that's perfect. That's a perfect expression. Chaotic beauty. I told that, I think, in the previous podcast. That's the way they played, and I enjoy that. I enjoy that unpredictability. I think Tremont Waters is a really interesting player. Jose Alvarado. There was actually a tweet on Twitter going viral about the most dangerous thing in FIBA basketball is an NBA C+ bench player going off for his own national team. And that's so true. That actually couldn't be more true. You know, we know Jose Alvarado from the NBA. He's like defensive guy. But here in the national team, he was like I mentioned before, like some kind of Steph Curry, you know, in the offense. And that's what happens when you have guys playing in the NBA, you know, bench role. Now in their national teams, they get way bigger number 1, number 2 role, huge confidence boost. You can do whatever you want. You can show off your skills that maybe your own team in the NBA doesn't need you to show because they want other things from you because you are a role player. But here he was just amazing, and some beautiful moments at the end of the game, like Jose Alvarado with Carlos Arroyo, 2 of the heroes of the 2 different Olympic qualifying berths, 20 years apart.
But same DNA, right? Completely same DNA.
Jose has a chance to do the funniest thing ever, like beating the USA. Not in the first game, as Puerto Rico did, but
LeBron is still there, so that would be iconic.
LeBron is there. The team is iconic, I would say. So they have a chance to repeat history, and that would be pretty fun to see. And post-game dance that they had after Alvarado's presser, that was amazing. And yeah, the party was lit in Puerto Rico.
2 Latin America countries made it to the Olympic qualifiers through the Olympic qualifying tournament for the first time in the last 2 qualifiers. I think somebody did a tweet, and all the Olympic berths were locked by European countries in the last 2 qualifiers. But we're talking about qualifiers. 8 groups, I think, right? Because we had 4 groups in 2021. Or maybe even since 2016 or something like that. So it was a huge stretch by European teams always advancing to the Olympics through these qualifiers. But now, you know, Brazil, Puerto Rico, they're taking over. They're taking the spots of European teams. And, you know, that's huge. You know, we as Europeans, we have to step up as well.
Yep.
What are your first early impressions at the Olympics?
I haven't really thought much about it, but...
Group A, Australia, Greece, Spain, Canada. Group B, Brazil, Japan, France, Germany. Group C, USA, Serbia, South Sudan, and Puerto Rico.
I haven't really, like I said, I haven't really thought much about it, but obviously what everybody noticed, that Group A will have... Every game will be an amazing one, basically. 4 teams, just an amazing level of basketball. A little bit not so much excited about Group C, where you will have a game day 1 match between Serbia and the United States, and then Puerto Rico and South Sudan as 2 clear outsiders of that group. So,
yeah, but at least this Serbia and USA clash will be worth to watch. That's for sure one of the biggest games that's coming. Also, Josh Giddey against Shea, you know, Australia facing Canada, Greece having Giannis as potentially European GOAT.
Wait. You highlighted Josh Giddey out of all people on an Australia team?
I will just like to watch this matchup, you know, because of the trade. So, I don't know. It'll be fun to watch, that's for sure.
Okay.
I mean, France having generational talent, and Victor Wembanyama playing pick and roll with Rudy Gobert. I mean, Germany, world champs, real world champs.
You had to double say that.
Yep. USA, not world champs, with LeBron, KD, Steph, others. Basically, another dream team, you know, to return the glory to the USA basketball.
Right.
Serbia with Jokic, another unicorn, potentially European GOAT, Micic. I mean, star-stacked tournament that we're going to enjoy for sure, and we're going to cover for sure a lot of podcasts upcoming.
And the freaking weird system that this tournament will have.
Mm-hmm.
Why do you have to make it so complicated? And that, I don't know.
I don't like math, to be honest with you. And this point differential thing will matter.
I haven't really looked into how it goes. Like, I know that the best two third place teams will make the quarterfinals, right? Is this the way?
Yep.
Is this the way? Right.
Yep.
So I can already imagine some bullshit happening on game day 3. Because not everybody is going to play on the same day, the last game.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's just. I think it's going.
Oh, yeah, that's for sure.
You can't play because it's the same venue.
Also, that's a good part of the Olympic basketball because we can enjoy all the games.
Every game.
Games are not clashing each other. So, yeah, teams placed first and second in each group, and the 2 best third place teams in the group phase will qualify for the final phase. Then we're going to have a draw for the playoffs.
There will be a draw?
Yeah, for the quarterfinals. I think so. Yeah, we're going to have a draw. Like we had in Tokyo, actually. You don't remember that?
But not, why it can be like in football, where you also have this bullshit system of teams placed third in the group stage qualified, but you don't need a draw there, actually.
I don't know.
Whatever.
Just to avoid some situations where I remember there were speculations that, because of this draw, one team gets an easier path to the finals, for instance, or whatever.
Okay.
Maybe that's the reason.
Yep. That's it.
This is it.
This is it, guys.
Thank you for watching. Make sure to press like button because usually more than a half of the all viewers, they're not our subscribers. So that would be huge for us to help to boost the podcast that we're doing. So subscribe to Basket News channel. Also press like button.
Give us your impressions about the qualifying tournaments. We read the comments. We want to hear your opinions. Maybe we said some bullshit. Maybe you don't agree with our arguments. And that's it.
Enjoy BN Plus family on basketnews.com/plus.